Welcome to Remain in the Race podcast, brought to you by 88 Live to Ride, with your hosts Ryan Havens, Daniel Hillian, and Mitch Reynolds, where we're going to discuss all things family, life, racing, and outdoors, where all glory will be given to the one who created us.
You're listening to episode 33, and man, I am excited. We're in our new makeshift studio. Mitchell, we're across from each other, by the way. Mitchell the Rocket Reynolds, how are you?
I'm here, dude. I'm over here in this recliner. I'm feeling good. I'm loving the new setup, Super D. Yeah, buddy.
It's good stuff, man. And again, shout out to my man Bud. He said, buy the stuff, I'll send you a check. So
sweet.
Yep. Thank you again, Bud. So, man, this past weekend, well, before we do that, what's been going on in life? Doing a little football? You wearing the Crush shirt? Tell me about it.
That's why we got the Crush shirt on, the Crush hat. That means tonight it was a Crush game. Moved up to 8U in softball, River that is, and they're playing pretty good. Got to work on their defense, but they figured out it's a little different speed of a game, but they're doing good, pretty good right now. Left football practice, so worked all day. Left work, went to football practice for an hour, jump over to softball and a little dinner, and here we are. So that's life right now. It's football, it's softball, it's church, it's back to work, it's repeat. And I liked it. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
There you go, man. I know for me, a lot of the same, just getting after it. Sold a side hustle, trying to get into another side hustle. Church is in full swing. Spring break. Taking the youth group skiing again. I had to miss one podcast back in season 1 because of a ski trip. So we'll try to plan
a ski trip.
Yep. We did it once, and the students were like, "We have to do this again." I was like, "Okay."
You've been doing some other exciting things too. I'm a little bit jelly of you.
Yeah.
Come on, what you been up to?
Well, so this past weekend was, let's see, it was rounds. What rounds was it? 9 and 10 of the Midwest Series.
11, 12, 13. It's been posted in all different ways. It was another Midwest round, which happened to be the East versus West.
It was. Yeah, so. The championship belts were handed out, and man, it was a lot of fun. It's one of those things, Mitch, when, like, I just love going to the races. I love getting to see everybody, and even now, you know, we've got some T-shirts, and so you might have seen some of those this weekend floating around the track, and it was just cool because people would be like, "Hey, you're Daniel, right?" I said, "Yeah, podcast guy." And I'm like, "Yeah." You know, and it's cool. Like, I love being known as that. You know, I love what we do, and got to visit with so many awesome families. You know, in one of our previous episodes, we interviewed the flying fast 17-year-old, Mr. Jace White.
Yes.
And got to visit with his dad, Travis, and his mom, Jessica, little brother, Trevin. We were just standing there visiting, and Travis goes, "Hey, Jessica, bring that stuff." And I'm like, "Uh-oh, what are we talking about?" And so I left it on the bar, Mitch, but we each have a bottle. There might have been a bottle for Ryan, but I think my mom and dad stole it, of Little Man syrup.
Little Man syrup, we got it. Did they happen to tell us how we can tap the trees? Like, did they give you any insight into this tree tapping business?
So Jace was no help, and Travis said, "I went back and listened, and Jace, you didn't help these guys out at all." and it was so funny because Travis and I stood there and talked for, I'm thinking 30 to 40 minutes, and he walked me through the whole tapping trees process. And like, for them, they have to harvest the sap. They only have a certain window, and Travis said it has to freeze at night and then thaw during the day.
Okay.
And then once it stops freezing at night, then they can't get the sap anymore. And they have to, like, it can't be below freezing during the day. Does that make sense? So there's a window where it's freezing, thawing, and that's the window. He said it's usually end of February, March and April.
So that would explain why it's not a common thing around here, because we don't have the correct conditions to tap trees for this whole freezing, thawing situation. Okay, I got it.
Yep. So where Emily and I lived before, where we do now, we had several maple trees, and she got all pumped up about, "We're going to make syrup." And Travis said, "No, you're not."
No.
And so it was so good getting to visit with them, Mitch. I just love being at the races, getting to visit with Nick. I'm actually wearing a Rye Motorsports shirt right now.
He's got it on.
Yep. I have one for you as well. And got to announce the women's class because Julia was like, "Hey, announce this. I'm going to go cheer Bailey on. I was like, okay. So that was fun. Shout out to Gabe, the cameraman. Gabe Wood. He held the camera, and I just talked. He's like, yeah, man, I don't want to say anything.
Oh, but we know you can talk. Put a mic in this dude's hand. Like, I mean, I knew
No
you were
problem.
at home. I saw
problem.
they needed an announcer. I'm like, Super D, come on. Somebody had already put it. I'm like,
And somebody,
get up there,
I know.
son.
And so several people were like, hey, are you announcing this weekend? I'm like, what are y'all talking about? And then I saw the post where someone had tagged me in it because Billy was needing an announcer, but ended up, Ella Barrett covered that. She ended up, I think it was in practice, had a little bit of a tabletop there, and she overjumped it a little bit and didn't crash or anything, but just landed weird, kind of down on your wrist. I'm doing hand motions. Listeners, you can't see. And fractured her
Scaphoid.
That's it. That's what I said.
Yeah, I take care of those. Yeah.
She ended up not being able to race, still lined up and, got across the finish line to at least get some points and stuff, but kind of a rotten deal for her. But she was our announcer for the weekend. And Ella, you did a great job, sis. Keep it up. So, yeah, I went to the race, and it was supposed to be the final round of our Builders Brawl. And we had talked to David Wortham and of Chief Motorsports, and he said, man, my shocks haven't come in. I'm missing a few other things. And I said, well, it looks like Mitch is not going to be able to make it. I said, so why don't we, we've got plenty of other things to talk about, and we'll just hold off on your build until next year. He said, man, because I told him, and me and you talked, Mitch, we want to be fair to you and fair to the other guys too. And he said, man, this thing might surprise you. And I'm like, oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, so give me your thoughts. I mean, we're not doing the Builders Brawl. We can give a little sneak peek, if I can talk, into the 2024 Builders Brawl there with Chief. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, I mean, I was kind of had other obligations. We had Remy's birthday. I mean, this time of year with coaching 2 different sports, everything is in full force. But give me a little insight in the Yamaha, man. You got on the Yamaha. Let's hear it.
So, got on the Yamaha, and right away, he's running a factory 43 Nerf bar on it, and they have lowered the pegs on it. Because just when I look at a Yamaha, I think I'm going to be cramped. And I knew he hadn't done any chassis stuff, like to the frame, to the subframe, none of all that stock. And so just on the outside looking in, I'm going to be cramped on this thing. Like, that's just how it looks.
Okay, all right.
And then I went and sat on it, and I was like, oh, man, this thing is... I think they just look so long because the seat is so long on them.
So I'm getting mixed vibe. You felt cramped. You thought you were going to feel cramped, but they look long like a Cadillac. This is clear as mud. I'm hearing you. Okay, keep going.
It felt really good.
All right.
I felt really comfortable. It surprised me. Just even when I just kind of we got out in practice and I let everybody kind of roll on, and then I was like, okay, I'll just take it easy. And I'm like, hey man, I kind of feel at home on this thing. I was like, okay. So it's one of those deals, just like we do with all the others, you kind of take it easy a lap, how soon do the brakes grab, yeah. What's the throttle feel like? What's the response? You kind of...
No, wait.
Go ahead.
No, we're not scoring this thing.
You're
not scoring it. I just want, like, how did you feel overall? Like, what did you think? Because when I think Yamaha, I think a driving machine. You can't really slide it like the Honda. Mm-hmm. So how'd that translate on the TT track? Like how'd that transpire?
So I think with the way we had it set up, I ended up having to raise the bike a little bit for me, and it honestly surprised me. I mean, it really did. I thought, I was just like, man, like, and honestly, David's probably going to shake his head when he hears this, but I was like, just get through it, man. Like, just ride it, get it over with, and move on. And then I rode it, and I thought, I'm going to sneak out for another practice. And I rode it again, and I rode it again, and I rode it again. And I felt at home. The power in the thing, and I think the moto experts had done the power plant on it. It's got a vortex ignition. To me, it felt like a big bore TRX with top end.
Okay, all right.
It's not the Yamaha. That Yamaha is not snappy like the KTM or the Husky or the CRFs. It doesn't have that just rapid, just wow, quickness.
So it sounds like we got to get David hooked up with Jaime.
Yeah.
We need to get Jaime over there, get this thing tuned just right, and he will be like, oh, this is something new.
Yeah, yeah.
And speaking of that, like we need, I talked to Jaime about possibly of what we've kind of talked about in this new series that we might come up with. And he would be on board to do that.
Cool.
So,
Cool. That's
that would
good.
be really cool to hear.
Yeah.
Kind of his insight in that world.
Yeah. So my biggest hurdle with the Yamaha was in practice Friday night. Went over the jump beside a guy, and I don't know who it was, and if it was, I wish I could just apologize. It wasn't either one of our fault. It's just a racing thing. But we went over the jump, and I was on the inside, and he wanted to be there, and I was like, "Well, you're not coming here," and I ended up rolling it, and it smashed the stem, and so I'm like, "Well, we're done practicing for tonight," and so we jam a stem in it tomorrow. Big shout out to Big Krog Racing right there out of, I think it's Greenville, somewhere up in there. Anyways. Zach Humphreys knows. So Zach, whoever we got it from, Big Dave knows. Anyway, shout out to those guys. They hooked us up with a stem, jammed it back in there. And so in the heat races, Mitch, I couldn't get a start. I was like, I know how to ride. I just can't get a start. And so I go up there for the main.
And you didn't practice a start, of course.
No, I did.
You did?
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I'm proud of you.
Lindsey Brown, Corey Brown's wife, has a picture of me practicing a start, kind of over there where we were parked. It was on the track, so I did practice a start. But I just felt like everyone had like the jump on me.
Yeah.
But I felt like the initial like launch, I'm like, I'm here, but I'm just spinning. And so Nick walks.
Speaking of that, were y'all racing on glass?
Oh my god!
I mean,
we'll get there. We'll get there.
Okay. I mean, I don't want to spoil it, but I'm looking. I'm like, my gosh, is anybody even moving on this track? Like
Yeah,
it
was brutal.
turn, slide.
Yes.
But anyway, okay. Before we get too far,
Yeah, it was brutal. And so Nick walks up and he goes, "Hey man, we're fixing to melt these tires off." He said, "You're riding great." He said, "You just can't get a start." And I'm like, did you just read my mind? And so I get up there.
And you look down and you had RD30s on.
No, they were 20s.
Okay,
they were 20s.
okay.
Had a real nice groove. I was happy with it. I was just like, I just need that to get it out of the gate.
Yep.
And so we get up to the line and, we kind of turn them over a little bit. And I'm thinking, okay, that's probably good. We're still burning them. We're still going. Holy moly. We're still going. Oh, okay, now we're done. And like there's just smoke coming off of them. And Nick's like, yeah, you got them now. Well, that was the ticket, man.
You just need them to stick to the glass, man.
I just needed them to get a little stick. So I don't think I hole shotted, but I gave myself a chance.
Okay.
And so I ran plus 25. Shout out Matt Miller, the Flying Amishman. He talked me into that, which was fine. I was just going to ride one class, and he's like, nope, you're signing up in two, because he was already riding pro light. So he didn't want to ride. So anyway.
Yeah, so he said, get in plus 25. Let's line them up, baby.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we had a good rate. Matt is he's a good rider. He's an aggressive rider. He's clean, and he's just a good dude in general.
Absolutely.
So shout out Matt Miller. Yeah, Flying Amish. And so got the win in the plus 25. So I'm feeling, kind of got my tail out between my legs,
Right. Yeah.
And then got in the other class was the Open A class, and I still don't think I hole shotted there, but just the way the option lines were, it started off the day like one was faster than the other.
Yeah.
And whoever got the hole shot, I think it may have been Kyle Scott, or I know in the heat race, Kyle got the jump on me by a country mile.
He should have with that King tune. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Dodd, they were putting some secret sauce on the tires.
They put some sauce on there. I bet they did.
But man, and that's the thing, like Open A plus 25, like all those guys are so cool to race with.
Yeah.
Like it's fun. It's like we're all buddies. I loved it.
Let's go have a good time.
Yeah. So Saturday night, got the win on the Yamaha in the plus 25 and then the Open A. And so, man, I was on cloud nine.
Man, I'm super jealous of you.
It was
getting
fun.
on the Yamaha, burning in some laps.
Yep.
And that's awesome, Super
Yep.
D.
And
I think we've talked quite a bit about this Midwest East, Midwest East versus West, but we still got to talk a little bit more about it as we get later into this. We also need to talk about NE-EDT rounds 6 and 7 there at Owosso, Michigan. Michigan, but get an update. It's been a little bit of time between races, between rainouts and all this situation, but we need to get in there and get the racing world updated. But before we get too far, I've just had the opportunity recently to talk with a guy and give him kind of direction on, how you start studying the Bible, how you go about doing that. Because, some people are like, I didn't grow up in church. I haven't gone to church. I don't know. What do you do? Just open and go to Genesis 1:1. And, we had started, when we started this podcast, we started in the Gospel of John. And that is a great spot to start. And you could go back and listen to some of those episodes if you want and read. But I shared with him, I'm like, YouVersion. Like, the YouVersion app is super easy, super convenient, tons and tons and tons of devotionals that are easy to do. And then it's like, well, where do I start? Where do I start with that? I'm like, well, start reading about Jesus. Start reading studies about who is Jesus, what he did, what is the Bible, just so you get a simple understanding of what the story of the Bible is all about. And obviously, we know what that's about, and it's about Jesus and having a relationship with him. So we want to always point people towards that. Or maybe it's listening to a podcast. Like, I love Andy Stanley's stuff. He gives some good breakdowns of what the story in the Bible is all about. But, with all that being said, Super D, have you been doing any good studies lately?
So this summer, my pastor here where I work at the church, like one of his favorite Bible characters is King David.
Oh, yeah.
And so we have been working through King David's life. And so it was supposed to be, this summer was going to be the summer of King David. And so we were going to take several weeks and just kind of move through it. And now we've kind of changed it to I think we're going to be here for a decade with King David. But I have really been, just on the side as he'd preach, we're just kind of just on my own, really digging into that. And it's been cool to hear, of when David was appointed as king or anointed as king to when he was appointed.
There was a little bit of a gap there.
There's a little bit of gap in there.
Yeah.
And that's where the story of David and Goliath falls in there. And then even as you keep going with the story of King David's life, he was human. I mean, he was a man after God's own heart, but he still had mistakes and problems and stuff. And it's just so comforting. Like, King David is probably one of the best leaders we have in scriptures other than Jesus, but he still made mistakes too.
Yeah, Jesus is the only other name that occurs more in the Bible than King David. So we've been studying King David as well.
Yeah.
In many series as well at church. And so that's pretty cool. But recently in Sunday school, we went through the Gospel of Matthew. So it's really cool to kind of know the background of these guys, who these guys were and why they wrote, because they didn't write this to be the Bible.
Right.
They wrote this to share events that took place that they knew needed to be shared. And then we've just started on 1 John as well. So our man, the Apostle John, writing that on, instruction on how you should live as a Christian, or if you're ever questioning whether you have been saved. It's kind of that assurance book, if you will. But anyway, just, if you're ever looking for direction on what you need to study, just reach out to us. We would be more than happy to share.
And you were talking about YouVersion. I tell my students this all the time. And I can, I remember one student go, dude, first thing I signed up for a 50-day plan. And I was like, you should have went with the 3-day plan.
That's right.
He goes, yeah, I got 2 days in and got so far behind that I just quit. And I said, yeah, it's a little intimidating,
That's right.
Like, hey, man, how about you just do one and complete that and go, oh, dude, that was great. Okay, right. Well, then do a 4-day plan and then do a 5-day plan. Don't just throw yourself into the deep end. I mean, if you can, but we want to set you up for success.
Be reasonable.
Be reasonable.
If you're going from 0 minutes invested in studying the Word, give 5 minutes.
Right.
Just 5 minutes of your day, and then build on that and create the habit, and just to see how that will change and transform kind of the way you look at life, you go about life. You will not regret the decision to do that. That's for sure.
No, not at all. And so what was awesome is, so Sunday morning we wake up and I could hear something. I was like, is there a bunch of people right outside the trailer? I'm like, what in the world? And Dad walked in and he goes, hey man, I think they're waiting on you to start church. And I was like, it's Sunday. And so I jump up and I'm grabbing my stuff and, trying to grab a coffee or a soda or something so my breath doesn't smell like a possum rolled up in there and died. And I noticed I had a text message from Mark Johnson. That's Ryland's dad. And he goes, church, or it was like church in the morning ? And I just text him back as I'm sitting down in my lawn chair as Dylan's about to start speaking. I said, yeah, right now. And so he was parked a few rigs down. And so I see him kind of hustling over there with his lawn chair. And afterwards, he's like, hey, man, thanks for he said, thanks for the heads up. And I said, yeah, I text you as I was sitting down right here, so, but it was cool because Dylan, his message was also about King David, about, using the talents and things that you have and to be bold and courageous in those things. And don't try to be someone you're not, because, it talks about that Saul's like, hey, become me to go do this thing. And it's like, no, I'm just going to trust God that he's created me on purpose for a purpose, and I'm just going to use the talents I have, and I'm just going to leave it up to God. And
I love it.
Yeah, and it was just so cool that we've been studying that here at church, and then also Dylan brought it, and I was like, God is so cool. Cool. It was a good group. We had almost 30 there, so it was a good time, and got to meet some new folks. And I just love being at the races, and it's
awesome racing family there in the Midwest.
Yep,
for sure, for sure.
So, all right. Well, do you want to? Oh, before we jump into some racing updates and stuff, I got a few things. So
a few more things.
Yeah.
Okay.
It all is good. So got to ride the Yamaha, and man, as we were there, I was like, man, I'd love to try one of these in the woods. And Rylan had a buddy there that's like, hey, we got some Yamahas. And so I think I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but I think I'm going to get to ride a Yamaha cross country, which I'm super excited about.
And he's going to be a Yamaha. This guy's going to be bleeding blue.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
Because everybody was asking me, hey, what'd you think about the Yamaha? And even Dave, he's like, what do you think? And I said, it's just not my cup of tea.
It's just too many hours on a Honda. That's what it is.
So,
it's just so many hours on the Honda.
And it's just
maybe
it was just little things. And it's one of those things like, what's cool about being able to ride your JB KTM, Elka rig.
Wait. I've got the recipe.
Okay.
We're gonna get a hold of Joel.
Okay.
We're gonna figure out how he sets up the front end so that it handles just like a Honda.
Yep.
And then you will be a Yamaha man.
If we can get that snappiness in that Yamaha, like the CRFs have,
done.
Jaime's got it.
Jaime, he's gonna dual fuel inject that thing, and you're laughing. I'm being serious.
Oh, I know.
That's what he does.
I know.
Okay,
I'm tickled to death.
And then he would tune it, and the man can do it.
Well, again, thank you so much, David Wortham and his whole crew. And so I went out there and got her on the top step. And so the next day, Dylan's like, yeah, I signed up in all the classes on it. He's like, you don't get it back. And I was like, that's fine. I just wanted it for one day, And so then Nick is like, hey, come ride one of my 350s. And I'm like, man, he goes, nope, come ride it. And so I got to ride Ryder's 350. Now, I don't know. I've got some pictures that I'll post of me and Ryder. I think I eat more in breakfast than Ryder weighs.
Yeah, so Ryan wouldn't let you ride his.
No, Ryan's
y'all are not friends.
No.
Me and Ryan are definitely friends.
Yes. Ryder at first was like, I don't know. And Nick's like, come on. And I said, Ryder, we're both younger brothers. And he's like, oh, yeah, you got it, But, dude, let me tell you, those 350, and Nick was like, you can race it. You can do whatever you want. But, again, I'm just a hint heavier than Ryder is, probably by like 100 pounds.
I was only 3 times, yeah.
Easy. And I was just like, this is poor suspension. Axis builds a great shot.
I only did that because I'm jealous of you.
Yeah.
Because you got to go ride and race. That's it. And I still love you, man.
Yeah. So, anyways, it was awesome. So I got to ride the 350. The things will rip. Then I went from that bike to one of Kevin Allen's. They call it Pork Chop. It's just got some big bore or something. He's done some secret sauce on it. Went out in pro practice, and I got to catch up with the flagman. He flipped me off, and I don't know why. I think he was playing a joke on me because I just kind of like gave him a head nod, and he just shook his head. So I think we're cool. I didn't get black flagged, but anyways, went out on it, and had some fun on that thing, and I was gonna race it. Well, something in the carb decided to, I don't know if it decided to eat itself or what. So I didn't end up getting to ride that, and so I'm like, okay, I need a machine. And so and Dad's like, hey, just ride mine. And I said, okay, I'll do that. Well, then one of our other buddies, Brody Pullen, is riding the Bullet machine that we got to one of the builders' bikes. And he was riding it, and he said, hey, I signed up in A class to be with you. And I said, well, I'm not in the A class today. I said, I didn't have a bike because I didn't want to. Dad had a race right before A, and I didn't want to run it back to back, yada, yada, yada. And so Rylan goes, hey, go talk to Steve. He's got that black CRF you rode at Paducah. So I run over to Steve, and I said, I need to borrow a bike. He goes, put whatever tires on it. Have fun. I was like, okay. And so I got to ride 5 different four-wheelers this weekend.
Wow, I'd lost count. Sweet. You really did have fun.
And Bryan, big shout out to Bryan Clayton. He's like, you're an animal. And I was like, well, hey, man, they just keep putting gas in them. I'm just going to keep rolling.
That's
He's
right,
like, I don't even know. So thanks for the hookup on the tires, Bryan. Your dad overcharged me, but it's okay. I did get a set of tires. So anyways, God, I just love being at the race. It's so good seeing everybody.
It sounds like, did you ever even come off the track?
No.
Was it just they waved the checker and then somebody else had a machine for you and you just went?
So what's funny is I had to call 2 minutes because we realized Open A's coming up and we've got to switch these tires. And so Jeff Brown, Big Kevin Cleveland, there's Kevin Allen.
That's right.
And Kevin Cleveland. Yeah. And Big Kevin is Kevin Allen's dad, who's like your size.
Right.
And
Big
so
little
them,
Kevin.
them and my dad were trying to get the tire switched out. I send James Johnson. I said, James, run down there and call 2 minutes for me. And so he jumps on his 90 and zips down there real quick. And so I can see they're already starting to line guys up. And someone yells, just ride across the track. Because we were parked like directly across from where the start line was.
Okay.
And so they were waiting on me to get there. And so I thought, well, I can gain another minute if I just jump out on the track. And so that's what I did. And I pulled up there and Bryan goes, well, that's one way to get us to give you more time is if you just ride across the track. And I said, I had to get here, man. And so anyways, it all worked out. It was a lot of fun. Again, there's a lot of good people at the races, and we'll dive into the actual meat and potatoes of what happened. We'll do that after we kind of go through the NE-EDT stuff. But man, I love being there. I love talking to Dusty Crouch. He's so cool. I wish I had hair like Dagan. Got syrup from the White family, which was awesome. Shirts, yeah. Nick hooked me up with a shirt. Now, we did a trade there.
Okay, trade.
And so after the heat race, Nick goes, we want our shirts back if you can't start better than that. And I said...
That's a disgrace to ride motorsports.
And that's what he said, I'm fixing to help. And I said, okay. And then we just melted the tires off. But
sweet.
Yeah.
Sweet.
All right. Well, we're quite a bit into this one. So I'll tell you what, Mitch, let's catch a break real quick, and then we will jump into some other stuff. So y'all stay with us.
Hey, here at Remain in the Race, we're all about Rylan Johnson Racing. For all of the aftermarket needs, from grab bars and bumpers to heel guards to complete custom builds, give them a visit at RylanJohnsonRacing.com.
All right, Mr. Mitchell, the Rocket Reynolds. Let's jump into rounds 6 and 7 up there over Labor Day weekend in Owosso, Michigan. And man, that is a absolute beautiful facility.
It is. You're kind of parked up high, and the TT track kind of falls down a slope, and then you can see the pond down there where they do the ice racing and the nice house in the background. It
Sprinkler in the pond, big fountain out there.
Absolutely. I'm sure that's
cool.
where they do ice racing out there. But that place actually originated as a motorcycle racing place.
Oh, okay.
Motorcycle flat track or whatever you want to call it races there. But now has evolved into a great facility for TT racing. So really, really cool event there. The Midwest had previously gone to that track. It looked like roughly the same layout, maybe just a little bit of a change. I mean, starting line's still the same, but maybe it's kind of where it chicanes back to the right. But one thing that has changed about that track, so I went I believe the first year that they had it, and the track actually, so Sweet Flow, really, really fun track to ride. It had a little bit of traction, but man, it looks like that track is just super hard and slick now. And I might be wrong. I mean, I wasn't there, but man, some good racing. And with that short start, what did we see come to the front in Pro Class? Did you see it?
TRX.
The TRX.
So after that race, I guess that would have been Saturday night.
Yeah, Saturday
in the Spec Tire class. I text Aaron. I would have texted Tyler, but I didn't have Tyler. I text Aaron. I said, "Hey, Bryan Roberts drop a CRF into that chassis, and he just sent me back a bunch of laughy faces, and he said, I'm telling you, when the conditions get right and everything lines up, he said that TRX of Bryan's that Tyler Baby King rides will go toe to toe with any of these CRFs.
Yeah, and toe to toe, he laid it down, dude.
He was ripping.
He was. I mean, in both the pro class and the spec, just rips out there and no turning back. Like, he's like, I'm winning. Is that his first pro win?
No, I think he had one other. I'll look right now.
So not. I'm not talking pro am. I'm not talking pro am spec or pro am unlimited, but the pro class.
I think that's right.
Either way, I mean, it's the first TRX win we've seen all season, and to go.
Right. Okay. I'm just thinking on the podium. You mean full throttle win?
Win.
Yeah. I think you're right. Yeah.
Top of the box. I'm thinking, and someone messaged me and fact checked me if I'm wrong, but that this is Tyler King's first pro win. I remember watching him come through Pro Light and thinking, this dude, which he would ride his ride height like 7.5 inches off the ground. It was crazy, way off the ground.
You riding that thing in the woods, man?
But dude, he could rail it. But I mean, they've obviously changed the setup, and Tyler is rolling. So I was pumped to see him get the win and CJ second. And then I don't know if you saw the battle in the pro class that Carter and Brad Riley had.
It was awesome.
It was epic.
Absolutely awesome.
Epic. And Carter edges him out to get on the podium there. And later on, so Carter gets the pro class and the spec tire are the same. Tyler King wins, CJ second, Carter Buff third. And Carter wins the unlimited class, and Sam Berger gets second.
Yeah.
So these two dudes who've just been threatening all year, really cool to see them get up there in round 6. Then following that up in round 7, we see CJ take the win, Brad get on the podium, and Cole get third. What do you know about the docking situation?
I don't know, and I should have done more homework on that. So if any of you know, drop us a message.
So I know it was Tyler Allen and someone else would have been in those podium positions, but something like clipping one of those markers and something, and I guess it happened. Many people did it, but with them, maybe it happened more than once. And I mean, we're just speculating stuff we read on. But
and which class was it in?
I was pretty sure that was in the pro.
I think so, because I remember because they always do spec tires first,
spec tire,
pro, and then pro and unlimited. Because in the unlimited, they made them all, like, the officials went down there and said, because there was a couple places where in those little stakes, they were just mowing them over, and they said, that's cutting the track, and I think that may have had something to do with it, and whether it was, I don't think it was anything intentional. I think it's just, they're the ones that got hung out to dry.
You're trying, as a pro rider especially, to gain every little second you can. If the track's not very wide, I mean, you're sticking your front tire off in that grass. So you're trying to gain every 100th of a second that you can, so you can't slight the guys for doing that, but obviously they stuck to their guns there, and they docked some people in the pro class there that were really, really running good. But then we see Medlin come up with the Pro-Am and win both the spec and the unlimited. So good for him. Brad went 2-2-2 on the day. And then Carter jumps back on there on the podium as well in unlimited. So as far as points are going, CJ he's sitting pretty with 1 round left. He really is sitting pretty there in the NE-EDT. And I don't know, I don't want to count my chickens before the eggs hatch.
Okay.
But I called it.
Oh, you called.
I said at the beginning of the year that
I've got notes written down somewhere.
One of these young guys was going to step up. And I don't know if I said CJ, I sure feel like I did. But that this was the year, man. He has stepped up and has really just blown the top off this thing and is really, really doing good. But hey, we always highlight the pro class, but I thought it would be good if we start talking about the women. We've talked on here how good.
Hey, before you move on,
the racing is in the women's class. Before we move on to women's,
Tyler has 2 pro wins. He had one in 2021, pro class win. It would have been the final round. This would have been October 23rd of 2021. Tyler King, number 46, gets the win.
Wow. So win number 2 for Tyler
When in the pro class.
in the pro class, and
Yep.
that's what I was after.
Yep,
All
yep.
right.
So go ahead. Women's
Win
class.
number 1 of the year.
Yep.
Second pro win overall.
Yep.
Thanks for the clarification.
You're welcome.
And
Anytime.
fact checking.
what I'm
But
here for.
anyway, you know, we've highlighted quite a few times on here. We've had Paula Quick on here and had her interviewed her. But how big this women's class is in the NE-EDT, it is huge. And we're going to follow that up with the BTR Fastest U.S. Women's TT Shootout taking place here in just a couple weeks on the 29th and 30th there at Pine Lake. So why don't we give the women some love? Round 6, Torchio wins, and she yards it. I mean, she was out to one heck of a lead. But Tori McCoy and Paula Quick had a battle. I think it
awesome.
was. Yeah, I mean, every single lap. I think at the finish line, it literally, like, Paula was at her rear tires. Like, she didn't allow Tori to get a breath whatsoever. Heck of a race there for second and third. And then in round 7, Torchio wins again, Paula second, and we see Alexis Scott jump up there on the podium. So Torchio has definitely got command of this class, but Paula and Tori and Alexis have really been challenging for the second and third position on the podium. So really looking forward to how that shakes out.
So here's this. So again, Mel Torchio is just running away with the thing. She's got a 47-point lead. Then Paula, she's got about 19 points over Tori McCoy. And then McCoy has 118. And then get this. Andrea Creech, 106. Alexis Scott, 105. And then Flora has 104. So 6th, 5th, and 4th are 1 point apart.
Wow.
That's awesome to be this deep into the season and still have a battle that close. Like that's exciting. Like that's so exciting to watch and be a
position
part
matters
of. Yeah.
for your overall.
Absolutely.
Here coming in the final round.
And let's see, this year there's been 29 different ladies that have run that class and scored points.
Wow.
That's incredible.
It
man.
is incredible. You see the people line the whole fence and get ready for this race. It's like a full gate every time, and it's not a gate, but you know it's the
I know what you
motocross
mean.
coming
Yeah,
out
yeah.
at me. Okay,
But it is cool because, you know, most of the time, and they run, I think the running order, the women's is pretty close to one of the pro classes, I think, or right before, right after. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know.
yeah.
But
You
it's
have
one
a
of those
confused
things,
look. I have no
I know.
idea. Yes,
But it's one of those things, usually when you have like a big level class there, when that one's over, everyone up on the fence will kind of fade back to and no one leaves.
no, it's
like they stay put.
People
you know?
stay put.
Yeah.
There are people that are lined up there for the women's race, so it's really cool to see that class booming like that.
Absolutely.
I also wanted to talk about the 200, 400 class. You know, in our last episode, we had Ryan Kistner, who is leading and has won the championship basically in the 200, 400 in the Midwest.
Yep.
But to highlight those, man, that class is awesome. Guys like Wes Stanley and Dylan Jones, Asher Burris.
Dylan Jones has got that sweet Yamaha that's been deboard.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, it just looks good. And he does all these guys are awesome riders too. And it's just crazy because I get to thinking, I'm like, all these guys are like 14.
Yeah.
You know, 13,
But they're
14,
the
12.
future.
Yeah,
I mean, these are the
absolutely.
guys in just a few seasons from now. These are the guys we're going to be talking about in the pro class because these guys have it going on. I mean, Dylan Jones has one heck of a racecraft. I would really like to get him on here because he is so smooth.
Yeah.
And Wes Stanley's flying. Well, then Asher Burris, he wins there in round 6. But really, really cool to see where this 200, 400 class is going. And I really think that it's making that transition into the amateur ranks from the youth ranks much closer.
I like
right?
it. Yeah.
You know, I mean, back when we were racing, it was 90 mods.
90 mod to 450.
90 mod to 450. So you're on a CR80
Yes.
dirt bike motor.
Yeah.
And I mean, we were giving those things all they were worth.
Yes.
But basically, they were just a step up from these 90 CVTs.
Yeah.
I mean,
Had
they
a clutch and a
they
shifter.
handled great and they lasted forever. You have to worry about them breaking down every race.
Yep.
But, you know, it's a big gap stepping from that to a 450, much different chassis. And so they've really lessened that gap. I really like the fact that they've got these classes going on. This, I think it's the super mini class and the 200, 400 class. So these guys are traveling at speeds that are not much different than the pro class when they're on these 350s for sure.
Oh yeah, and if you put like you say, you put a stopwatch on it, it's like, oh man, they're not far off, you know. And I mean, they're wheel to wheel too. So in that 200, 400 class, 5 different guys were on the podiums in those 2 days. Wes Stanley was the only two that he got a first and a second, or second on Saturday, first on Sunday.
And it's not common, like if you look down through there, to see Dylan Jones off the podium either. I think he kind of fell on bad luck on a bad start. Those 2 boys right there are usually right there at the top, but really cool to see the level of competitiveness that many different guys are
and
up
then
there.
even Ryan this year, Kisner going over to Pine Lake and getting the win.
So,
that's man, right. It's fun. I mean, we're all things flat track here at Remain in the Race, but man, there's a couple things like, we want to shout these guys out, you know, and the women's class, the 200, 400 class, man, it's exciting, Mitch, because like I say, now that people have these stepping stones, that way when they do decide to dive off in those upper level classes, it's not going to be like hey, I was just crushing everybody and now I'm getting last. You know what I'm saying? Like
the level of competition will change, but I mean, really, the speed and the skill level is not that much different, I guess. I don't know the best way to term that. It's good, though. I mean, it wasn't too long ago we were talking about Tanner Terry and Cody Houghton in these classes, and then look at what these guys are coming up. I mean, Tanner in his rookie pro season, and Cody really crushing it over there after, getting healed up from the injury he had earlier in the year in motocross. So,
there was, I don't remember if it was, I think it was Saturday night. I was watching Cody Houghton in one class, and it just, one of those things on a start, just kind of got pinched, and he got shuffled back to about 4th place, man. And then just every lap, he'd just pick off another one, and then he ended up gapping them by a little bit. So, man, it's just, it's exciting because it's like, I can't wait till those guys can get up and make it. But the thing is, like when you step off in that pro class, it's just a little bit more. It's like it's a slightly
faster, and you're not allowed to make a mistake.
That's right. I
mean, the level of your area for error is very, very shrunk. I mean, you can't. Gosh, my words, like, I don't know. It's like the Arkansas is coming out in me. I'm sorry, but you used to have no room for error at all. None
I'm
whatsoever.
with you. I got it. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So, man, it was fun to watch and keep up with there over Labor Day. Everything that was happening up there in Owosso. We even had some racing compadres over one night, and we just sat there on the couch and was just watching it on TV. It's so cool. And man, again, Eric Ashcraft, always check in with him like, hey man, you need a bottle of water? He's like, yeah, could you bring me one? And I'm like, well, I'm in Arkansas. Sorry.
That's just wrong.
Yeah. But man,
the dude's a trooper.
Oh yeah. He just sits up there and marinates in the sun all day and loves it. So
calls it out, make sure all of us can sit back and kick up in a recliner on our couch. And
there was one race I text him and I'm like, bro, you're not even close on the names. He's like, I've been up here frying all day, so I like to give him a hard time. He can handle it though.
He can, just like you can take it too, right?
I can.
Okay. Well, hey, let's move out of the NE-EDT world.
Okay.
And let's move over to Midwest. I know we talked a little bit about the East-West and kind of given an intro about that, but let's talk about this track, okay? So I'm watching the videos, didn't get to go, jealous. You were there.
I was.
This track looked slick. I mean, it looked like y'all were racing on. No, I think ice definitely has better traction than that had, like with the glass.
Talking to Jace, and they were showing me some videos because they race a non-studded, he was telling us about us.
They rubber, yeah.
And I said, Jace's which is slicker? He said, this out here.
Oh, I know.
He said, I can ride a wheelie all day long on the ice. You can't. He said, there's no traction.
There was one area with traction, like right before that roller there in the middle of the infield.
Yep.
But kind of the way they had shaped the track up, it was like slide, then hurry and turn.
Yep.
And another little slide. So I was curious on the track there.
The
for sure.
Indiana Dirt Series guys laid the track out and stuff. So that's Justin Hayes, Zach Humphreys.
Okay.
Their guys. And man, for what they had to work with in the time they had to work with, dude, those guys crushed it. And the thing was, it's like they got to asking them like, hey, have y'all ever like pulled a disc around this thing? And they were like, what? Like, it was so hard, Mitch.
Okay, so no moisture, just hard.
And then the infield was grass.
Okay.
They tried to,
so that was probably the one area of traction, really, was where there was grass
so
before.
as they kept peeling the grass up, they had a street sweeper that they found down the road. That some guy had this little, it looked like a lawnmower with a street sweeper on the front of it.
Okay.
So every time Justin would come out, it just reminded me of the cars, the little pit stop. Beep, beep. Yeah. And it was the funniest thing. But that was the ticket of keeping that track, because as they just kept peeling that grass up, they'd go out every so often and just sweep it all off the track, and it ended up working really, really well.
I remember pulling up to a track before that John Pellin was promoting a TT race that was that way. Like, it was straight up, the whole infield was grass. It was like, are you going to do anything about that? No, we're going to put some markers out there and run it in. It actually worked really well. But it's crazy to see,
So on Sunday, on the outside option lane, there wasn't a jump in the corner or anything on that one. Like, I'd come down the straightaway and lock it up, and it'd be, you're just barking tires on grass, so it came in. The point, though, is yes, it was so slick. They would put water out and just, soak the thing. Well, then the sun and the wind, half of it evaporate, and the guys are fighting a losing battle.
Right.
So I think it was...
I think you and I have kind of talked about this a little bit, this change in the way they manage a TT track. In the past, it was disc it up, loosen it up, water it for a week. I'm talking, Dad would nearly for 2 weeks be going out there and watering from when the sun went down for 3 or 4 hours, just putting so much moisture in it. And that's what made for a different surface. Well, now it's just kind of like they get these tracks together, throw a little water on it, and you go ride. So it's a different environment.
And it just stinks because this could have been a lot more than it was, but you're limited to the time you have and the tools you have.
It's not like you own the facility, like you're going in and trying to host a race that's not exclusively for that.
Right.
So it's cool they had the race. And the other part was I didn't see much dust, so I was impressed by that. Was I not paying enough attention? It was dusty. Oh wow. Well, I was watching the races and thinking, wow, maybe it's because the speeds on the track were slow enough that they couldn't throw up a lot of dust. The track just looked, severely slow to me.
It was really dusty.
It was real dusty.
Yeah. But there was a pretty good breeze blowing that kept blowing it off. But there was a couple times, like the heat races were real bad.
Well, sometimes from the live feed, you can tell you're like, I can't even see what's going on. Like when they were on Owosso, like there's so much dust like hanging around that I can't even see.
Yeah, what's happening?
So I guess on the live feed, they had a good angle there that it didn't look so dusty.
Yep. Yeah.
But
I'll allow it.
But the speeds were, they were curious to me. They were not very fast. But one person has been working on his craft, and he has got his machine.
I tell you, it was so funny. I'd walk by Garrett, and the slicker it got, the happier he got.
Yeah, he can ride slick.
He is the Jedi of dry slick.
Yes,
and everybody else, dude, CJ, Tyler, Trent, they threw everything they had in the kitchen sink at their machines, trying to widening them out, narrowing them up, hard tires. They were, I've just felt bad for them because you're thinking, oh, okay, here we go. Well, then the track would change from where they went, they were, and CJ's just like, man, we felt like we were chasing it all weekend, and we'll get there eventually. But one thing about CJ is he's on the podium every time.
He is.
Dead last off the start.
That's just a competitor.
Puts his head down and goes,
But Garrett was on it.
Dude.
I knew when we had ridden with them here up the road that they have really been putting the work in and developing that machine.
Yep.
So it also helps. They've been developing the machine, but then you get a guy who's a king on slick. He just knows how to make that machine go fast when naturally you want to try to ride harder, but he just rides effortlessly and just starts yarding.
Yep. And where Mom and Dad had the toy hauler parked, it was you'd come off the straightaway sweeper into kind of a hairpin into the infield, okay? And he'd come around there, sweeper hard on the gas, and just shut her down, slide around that corner, and then just blop. It wasn't just Matt the throttle. Him, CJ, and Carter were doing it better than anybody.
Yeah.
You know, Tyler, Jace, they were all doing it too, but they just had it, lug it and just slip the clutch just a little bit and just to not break traction because it's so loose, you know. And
so I was convinced back when I raced against Garrett that he had some sort of switch, like a different map, like when it got slick, that just made this thing go into like a severe lug, because you could listen to him. You're like, how does he ride? And this is TRX time, right?
Oh, yeah.
You're like, how does he ride that TRX that low? It would just be like, and just, you're like, how does he ride it that low?
Yeah. And like you say, that is one of those things too, like, I know a lot of times in the supercross, motocross, they'll say slower is faster. Now, Garrett's not going slow. So, Garrett, if you listen to that, I'm not saying you're going slow, but he's just smooth. He's not overriding the track. Just roll on the throttle. And, man, he had a good. And CJ was riding his guts out. I mean, doing everything he could. The option line started off pretty similar, and then they got real far apart. And then the next day, the other option line was better. And they were trying to kind of keep them timed. But it ended up getting to where, like, every lap, they're just nose to tail, all of them going in the same option line. Because if they tried to take the other one,
they're going to give up position.
They'd lose too much, you know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was definitely a start-dependent track. And if you didn't get a start, you had to hope the person in front of you took the wrong option line, or you were going to move someone or get in their way. Like, that's how. What did Aaron say about your bumper? Bump and run or something?
No, something about you have to move them out of the way. You're going to have to use your bumper, basically.
You give them a chance, and if they don't move, you use your bumper. Yeah, well, I was like, that's kind of how it was.
That's basically what it was.
Yeah.
So, but rounds 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
I think it's 9 and 10.
Okay.
I don't know.
I have no idea. Well, the thing is, the cancels, the reschedules, the races that happened, that didn't happen. Regardless, where are we sitting on points? So CJ should still be leading.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But, I mean, that's 50 points, really, a person can obtain every race if you win the heat and the main. So we can see how Garrett go out and perform the way he did. I mean, winning what, 3 of the 4?
Yeah, and so Saturday they put a bunch of money up in the Pro-Am class. Well, most of these guys,
we're not going to include that.
I'm just saying,
a one-off deal.
I know. I'm just saying that Garrett swept them all on Saturday.
So he was 3 for 3 on Saturday.
He was 3 for 3 on Saturday.
And 2 for 3 on Sunday, so rode all 6.
Yep.
But kind of closing up the gap a little bit, CJ Garrett and then Jace there in third place, I'm guessing, because those guys have just solidly been finishing right there together. And Jace is running a really good race there with them too.
Oh yeah.
So they've got some slick set up together for sure. But Garrett Keister is a man on the slick track.
The harder, the slicker. Like he's just licking his chops. He's just like, yes, and like he never got excited. He was just like, okay. Let me go put my orange wheels on. I'll see you guys. Like he was so laid back all weekend, you know, and I was talking to
the zone.
And so Trent Powell, which Trent was, and I always like to pick on him because Trent was a pro when I was like, I don't know, on youth production. And he's like, yeah, thanks for reminding me, you know. But so he's riding a CRF now, and just listen to him talk about, you know, the struggles he's had. He said, I love everything about it is awesome. He said, it's just so much lighter. He said, I don't know where to put my body. I don't know how to, because I knew where to get the traction to the ground on the TRX. He's like, this is a whole new world for an old dog like me. And so it's been, I hate to watch guys struggle, but to watch them kind of overcome it, make it happen was really cool, you know. And CJ's really like, it was just kind of I was talking to him today and he's like, man, it was just like, I just wanted to go home, but I was like, no, I'm here to compete, you know, and at the end of the day, he's on the podium and every race he entered.
Yeah. But he's got that mentality, like win. He just wants to win. He's won so much.
That's what he said.
Once you get the taste of it.
He said, I hate losing.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, I got that feeling too. That's so our last football game, we lost 7-6. And I'm just like, they played so good, but a series of bad snaps really cost us the game.
Yeah.
And I'm over there like, I threw my hat at the end, because we gave up this play like 4th and 8. And Haley was like, you held it together till the end. And I was like, I knew it was the dagger. Like, We have just stopped them on
man.
first, second, third down, and they go for it on fourth, and we 4 tackles, miss 4 tackles, and I'm just like, rah! Like, I like winning, but not near as much as I hate losing.
Right,
like you're just like
right.
you can't even see anything. You're just furious. But afterwards, you look back and you're like, well, actually, there were some good things, even though the result wasn't there. So CJ, there were some good things there. You still got the points lead. You're on the podium again, and not every track's going to be that slick.
That's right. So hopefully, I know, specifically at Benton, so they'll be there next weekend. So we're coming up on the 16th?
Yes, correct.
16th. So the next weekend, the 23rd, I guess that is, 24th, somewhere in there, they'll be going back to Benton to make up that round that got rained out the weekend before Labor Day. Ooh, there's a lot going on.
So that'll be their final round there, the 23rd and 24th.
Yes.
Of the Midwest.
Yes.
And then the final round for the NE-EDT will take place the following weekend at Pine Lake.
Yep.
At 29th, 30th, 31st, where we will see the BTR fastest U.S. women's TT shootout. Before we move on and get to talking a little bit about that, I want to highlight our women's and our 200, 400 over there. So for the women's, we see Beth Clayton win there in round whatever.
9.
Okay. I'm just still going to stick with it. Some people post 11 and 12. Well, I've got 11 and 12 on here, 9, 10, whatever you got. But Beth Clayton wins. Bailey Thomas gets second, and Kelsey Bachfield Dyer.
So when I was announcing, I saw that and I said, Julia, what are saying? Just say Dyer. We know who it is.
That's
She's
right.
cool with it. And I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. So do you remember any of them? So
Yeah.
the Dyer sisters is what I call them. Like there was a group of them that raced. Yeah. From Missouri.
No, I don't remember them.
You don't remember them?
I know that Kelsey is fast as all get out.
Yeah. Well, okay. There's more than one. I
Okay.
think there's 2 sisters that used to race. And someone needs to give me clarity on these. But I remember, they raced back when I raced. It was the Dyer sisters. And there might even be more than 2 that race. But anyway, Kelsey's the primary racer now. And I've really found
She did
that.
good.
Yeah.
So then on Sunday,
Bailey wins.
Bailey
Yeah.
gets the win, and I think Kelsey got second and Beth got third.
That's correct. So as far as points go, we've got Beth
I think-
winning the class, but those 3 are your top 3.
Bailey got the women's class belt because she
did
a second and a first, whereas Beth had a first and a third. Yeah.
That's cool. The belts were handed out this week.
Yeah.
And our boy Ryan Kistner, he got him another belt, didn't he? Going 1-1 in the 200, 400 class.
Yep.
And then how about the Moore brothers, Logan Moore and Laney Moore, also getting up there. Their dad builds their chassis. They get these sweet machines, and
they
those boys
sound awesome. They look cool. The brothers have matching gear, and dude, they just one's number 6 and one's number 9.
That's
and
right.
They are just cooking. Yeah, and they even both of them rode C class, and one of them got on the podium in C class too.
That's super cool.
Yeah,
and our boy Jack's got on the podium in 200, 400
He
too.
sure did. Yeah,
So-
talked to him a little bit. By the way, he goes, he's so funny, dude. He's the most laid back, like 13. Yeah, man. Just easy going. He goes, what's it going to take for me to get out in the woods? And I said, what are you doing over Halloween weekend? Nothing. I said, got a race at Mountain Grove, Missouri. Oh, man, that's a couple hours from me. I said, show up. I'll have you a bike. So
he's going to be there.
Hey, okay, I'll be there.
I'll be there.
But yeah, so in that, so I said earlier I got to ride one of Kisner's 350s. It's a 300. I need to clarify that. So if anybody's going to blow up Nick going, "Oh, you're running a 350," it's a 300.
Why would he not be running the 350?
I don't know. That's a good question. I think it's a 300 though, because of some rule somewhere else. I don't know.
For real?
Nick, drop me a text.
Wait.
I'll clarify.
I was sure the way those things really.
Hang on.
Hey, listen. Tanner and Cody Houghton were running the 350, bro.
Hang on.
It's 200, 400 4-stroke. That thing comes as a 350 4-stroke.
I got it. Hang on.
Turned down for what? We're not turning that thing down to 300. Nick, come on.
I'm texting him right now. Hang on. Tell me a story. Tell me, what did you like about the track?
The fact that it looked like glass, I would have been miserable. I mean, that's what I thought. I would have been like CJ and them, like, come on, we need some tackiness or something. I mean, they had the cool tabletop and the roller, but man,
the tabletop was pretty cool.
Yeah, it looked like it had a little launch to it. Like if there would have been a hole a little bit further, I definitely would have sent that thing. Like, but I mean, there was a corner to the left. But yeah, when it's slick, like that is not conducive to my riding style. I just want to crawl in a hole like you said CJ would.
Oh, dude, I felt
so. No, I wasn't jealous. I was jealous that you got to ride, but when the track looks that slick, I'm like, OUT out.
Yeah, it was.
I'll go announce.
It was brutal.
Oh.
And that's the thing, dude. I felt so bad for Justin and Zach because they worked their guts out. Dude, they dug a hole by the track to put all that dirt there for the jumps. I said, where'd you get that dirt? And he goes, that giant hole over there. And they had a hole that a skid steer would disappear in. They just dug a hole, and it was like, oh, okay, cool.
It's a sweet table, though.
Yeah, and man, they're just kind of at the mercy of the cards they're dealt, and man, they were basically putting water on glass.
Listen, I'm not trying to knock them, but you got your style, and you know what you appreciate, and that slick track is not one of them for me.
And I mean, it was what it was. They did the best they could, but yeah, it was glass. Now Saturday night, it got good. I know I did a few things on setup that was the right move to go. And then Sunday, you just stiffen her up and lower the air pressure in the front tires. Around. But it was so funny watching that hairpin corner right there where we were sitting. Guys would come in there Saturday night and they'd plant the front end turn and zip right in there. Well, then Sunday, it was so stinking slick, they'd come in and turn the handlebars and she'd just keep going straight.
Oh, no.
So it was a good time.
Well, hey, let's catch another break.
Okay. Well, tell you what, we'll catch a break. We'll be right back. Y'all stay with us. From top-of-the-line athletes to weekend warriors, 110% Nutrition has the supplements, the knowledge you need to take your fitness to the next level. They are now the title sponsor of the NE-EDT series for the 23 season and work with some of the top pros in the sport like Aaron Medlin, Brad Riley, and Amateur Rider of the Year Tanner Terry. Check them out on the web today and make sure to use our code REMAIN at checkout for a discount. Work with the guys that support the sport that we all love. 110% Nutrition. All right, we are back for our final couple laps here of episode 33. What you got over there, Mitch? Hit me with it.
I wanted us to close with some predictions. I mean, we talked about it earlier, but predictions for the BTR fastest U.S. women's TT shootout. Hit me with your top three.
Mel Torchio.
Samesies.
Paula Quick.
Okay.
And Tori McCoy.
All right. I like it. I'm going to go Mel. I'm going to say Beth Clayton.
Ooh.
And then Paula Quick.
Ooh.
So that's what I'm rolling with for my picks for the women. And I think it's going to be good because Tori McCoy is going to be right in there and she is going to shake this thing up.
Yeah,
and
buddy.
Can't count Alexis Scott out either. So it's going to come down to a great finish, but I'm just sure that Mel has got this in the bag.
So I think maybe because that's what I was thinking too. And I had messaged Brandy and I was like, man, it just seemed like the deal is like, I don't know if they draw straws or ping pong balls or something like the lineup for the heat races is like they're doing something.
Okay,
like
so it's not going to be based on their NE-EDT current point standing, which is how they do the gate pick at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. Well,
that's how
that could shake something. Yeah, NE-EDT, they get their gate pick based on their points. Yeah, so if you show up mid-season,
you're getting a shaft every weekend.
Yeah. So you've got to. So yeah,
that's why I had last pick when we went to Pine Lake.
Absolutely right. Yeah.
Whose idea is that? I need to talk to Sean.
That needs to be revamped. I mean, it is a reward for being good, at each race. But you naturally know, well, CJ's going to have first pick over here, and Brad's in second, so Brad's going to have first pick in the second, and then Aaron's in third, so he's going to have second pick, so on and so forth.
That's kind of funny.
We did recon before the 50th because it was.
Did freak.
Well, I mean, yeah, you wanted to line yourself up as good as you can, so that's why you see people showing up to races earlier and racing other races because you don't want to be just the guy who shows up and signs up for the 50th and has 20th pick just because you haven't been racing the series. Okay, but anyway, I'm gonna get off that soapbox. But you know, it is what it is. It worked out for me, right? So the other thing I want to talk about are, what it means to remain in the race or continue in that Christian walk, because that's what we really founded ourselves on, right? Or originated in, is talking about having a relationship with God through faith in Christ, but continuing that relationship and that fellowship. Mm-hmm. So let's hit some points here of what it is like to walk in the Christian walk, which is an active thing. It's something that we do daily as we walk with Christ. So Super D, hit me with some things that we should do to remain in the race or remain in that Christian walk.
One thing that I like to tell my students is you are who you hang out with.
Okay.
So you need to be surrounding yourself with people that are pointing you in the right direction. You need people in your life that tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear.
That's right.
But then you also need to have thick enough skin to where when they go, Mitch, you're making some poor decisions right now, that you don't get all bowed up and bent out of shape. You go, man, Daniel really loves me. He cares about me. I should listen to what he's saying.
Yes.
You need people. You are who you hang out with. So surround yourself with people that are going to point you in the right direction. I'm not saying you can't be friends with your old, running buddies that are wild and loosey goosey like that. You can still be friends with them, but they don't need to have influence in decisions of
on who you are. Yeah.
Yep.
I like that.
You are who you hang out with.
That's absolutely
Yep.
You become what you tolerate, really.
That's right.
So what you accept and when you tolerate.
You are what you eat, all same thing.
All the things.
Yep.
But so true. I mean, we're made for a relationship with God, but also fellowship with God and fellowship with fellow man. So in order for all those relationships to work good, your morals, your values, those should align and those should be shaped really by our instruction within the Word, right? To
Absolutely.
Continue in that Christian walk.
Mm-hmm.
So just wanted to point that out. Not always an easy thing to walk, but the Christian walk is a fun, rewarding, and a truly joyful thing. A joyful thing in that it's not based on circumstances. It's based on the character and the promises of God. We know that our future glory is coming. And the things that he reveals to you and being part of the blessing is a cool thing. Just kind of like this podcast, how it was born.
Yep.
Super cool blessing. Love it. I am thankful that God gave it to us and hope we're doing a good thing on it. So
I hope so. I mean, it's been a breath of fresh air for me. And like I said, who would have thought a couple guys sitting around with some microphones in their face talking about flat track racing and Jesus, like who would want to listen to this? But I talked to 15 people I never met before. Hey, you the podcast guy? I said, I sure am. Dude, we just love listening to that. That's so good, man. We just love listening to it.
we love the feedback.
Yeah, I love it. And it's just so you listeners know, like this has been like a breath of fresh air for me. Like I love when you're like, hey man, can we record? Yeah, I'm in whenever. However, I don't care.
You're always, let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen.
I mean, it's tough. It is rough at times to coordinate our schedules. I mean, we've been at work all day, and then football, and then softball, and it's 9-something at night, and we're recording.
Yep.
But we're committed to it. We're trying to practice what we're preaching here, baby.
Mm-hmm. This is Monday after rounds 9, 10, 12, 15, 9, whatever it was. The round after Michigan.
You have had no sleep?
No. I got home at 4:30, and I sat down on my couch and sat up because I'm like, well, if I lay down, I'm done.
Yeah.
And I got stuff to do today. So, but that's the thing. It's worth it, man, because you know what? This is what God called us to, and we're going to do it.
That's right, baby.
Well, we're at an hour and 7 minutes. I mean, we'll have to add some commercials in here, so it'll be a little bit longer than that. But what else you got for us, brother?
Man, that's it. Let's close this thing out with prayer, all right?
Let's do it.
Super D, go.
Father God, thank you for this day, Lord. Thank you for all your many blessings. And I just thank you for a great weekend of racing, man. It was just, for me, it was a breath of fresh air, and I loved getting to connect with your creation, God. Each person there is created on purpose for a purpose, God. So I pray that As much as we love to race and to compete, God, that above all that, we would make you the priority in our lives, God. So thank you again for this day and for all your many blessings. And Mark Johnson, I know you're listening, so this is a special prayer for you that you will be nice to me. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. Hey, thanks for listening, and we will catch you in the next one.